Coming up in this episode of PWD Allies podcast.
I'm very grateful that the government decided that they're going to pay for $1,500 worth of that chair. It's great, but I had to pay for $1,500 extra. That $1,500 that I actually don't have.
PWD Allies, the best disability podcast in Canada. Starring your hosts, Brent Frayne. And as always, his producer and editor, Neil Matheson.
Today we're going to be talking about Crip Tax. People are probably wondering, what is Crip Tax? Well, Neil, what is Crip Tax?
Well, it's actually Crip Tax.
Crip Tax.
Crip Tax. You know, the it's
tax.
Like the
Almost kind of right.
Anything with that people with disabilities have to buy, whether it's like scooters, mobility crutches, any kind of mobility device or any special diet or anything. You always it's double it and add a zero.
Absolutely.
That's the joke, right? Double it and add a zero. So that's the Crip Tax.
Yeah, you're right, Neil. Like when people have disabilities, and it's no fault of the person, but it is fault of the governments, right, to take care of their citizens. And when they don't take care of their citizens, they have it's just a moral responsibility of taking care of people. And people say, well, it costs money. It costs money. Well, yes, it does cost money to society, because it costs money in our healthcare system when you don't take care of people with disabilities, because it actually puts more strain on our healthcare system. And as we all know, it's hard to get doctors and specialists across our country, especially in BC right now.
Yeah, well, even back in the day, again, I'm going back to when I was very young, like 7, 8, or in there. And
the good old days.
Even for my parents, I think there is this belief that if you had a child with a disability, that the government was stepping in and paying for everything. And even back then, like, my parents had to pony up a lot of cash for things like, I had full leg braces, and then I had orthotics, and they had kind of very cutting edge braces that were almost like prosthetics. They were like a mold of your leg, and they were kind of like this hard plastic. So all these experimental things, and they never got coverage from the government for that. It was it was all out of pocket. And and then when I became adult, I know that the government does pay for things like certain crutches and stuff like that. But if you want the good pair of crutches, which you should, like, and anybody that, again, I don't use crutches anymore, but I've been on crutches my whole life up until a couple of years ago. And anybody that has a disability like cerebral palsy, where you're on crutches all the time, you want to have a good pair of crutches, right? You don't want to have a crappy pair of crutches.
Absolutely.
And so the government will pay for the crappy pair of crutches, but they won't pay for the good ones. So, I was every pair of crutches that I would, like my last set, for example, I would always buy 2, because just in case something happened to the first set. Again, if something happens with your crutches, it's like they're like your legs, right? So if something goes wrong with them, it's not like you can go, oh well, I'll just go do without them, or I'll get them repaired, because if you get them repaired, it'll take a while, right? So of course you have to have a backup pair. So I'd always buy 2 pair, and they were at least, like, to get the good pair, and not extravagant, but to get a really good pair was around $250 each. So you're looking at $500 every time you wanted to get a set of crutches. You're looking at dropping $500, and then to get a plus tax, and then to get a good set of crutch tips that don't wear out as often. Like you can get the crappy kind that the government will give you, but that
they'll wear out very quick.
They wear out. I used to use the crappy ones, and they would wear out in less than a week. They were so but if you buy the good ones, which are like maybe $50 to $55, they would last like 6 months without wearing out.
Wow.
But again, so you buy a couple pairs of that, and you're over $100, right? And same thing with my scooter, like to get a good new scooter, and I've paid for every single one of my scooters. I've never had the government pay for any of them. Always pay. I had a couple that I bought used, and they were almost new, but they were used for a good price. And then I've bought a few new ones, and the new ones are like $5,000. So like the price of a price of a cheap car, $5,000, right? And again, like the government didn't pay for that. I paid for that. And then when you have to buy new batteries, the batteries cost about $400 to $500 too.
Oh yeah, they're not cheap.
The gel batteries. So every time you want to replace a battery, that's not so we're just talking my situation. So you got scooters, you got crutches, you got crutch tips, you got batteries, you got scooter batteries. All that adds up. Oh, and I should say too, with a couple of the scooters that I had.
Oh yes.
I had air tires in a couple of my scooters. Well, I got so many flats, and every time you get a flat, I'd have to pay like somebody to come out and repair it. It was like $100 a pop every time pop. Get it? Like it's a pun. But every time a guy would have to come out to repair it, it was like $100 a pop to repair a pop tire. Because people are stupid. They break glass and they think, oh, it's gonna be fun. I'll put glass on the sidewalk. Somebody will drive over it and it'll be great, And I remember as well too. I think I shared this one time on the podcast quite a while ago. Is that there was 1 year, the day after Halloween, I was out in my scooter, and I was coming back from taking Jake. He was in elementary school at the time. I was just coming back from the scooter from taking him to school, and all of a sudden I see all of this broken glass everywhere, and then I see there's a blind woman that I know. She's walking with her dog. Her dog is just about to step on the glass.
Oh,
and I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Like there was glass everywhere, and I mean
the
dog's paws would have been a wreck, right?
Totally.
And so I was like carefully guiding her and the dog carefully through. I said, no, go this way. I was trying to like, it's hard because I, of course, but it was good. Like the dog avoided the glass, but if I wasn't there, the dog would have gone over the glass and its paws would have been bleeding and wrecked.
Oh yeah. You were guiding the guide dog for the person.
Yeah. I had one more example, Brent, to share, and then I can turn it over to you. But I have one more example. It is the shower that I put in.
Oh yes.
My accessible shower that I put in my bathroom in my bedroom, the master suite. I've been disabled my whole life. I've never had a accessible shower, but now that I have one, I'm like, I should have done this like at least 15 years ago, if not more, because it's amazing. And an accessible shower is not. It's not a. It's not a nice thing. It's not a nice to have thing for me anymore. It's like a must have. It's not.
Exactly.
It's not an optional thing. This having a shower and being able to care for yourself is not optional. Like, it's not something that it's not like I can just hop in a car and, how some people say, well, why don't you could go to GF Strong, or you can go to one of those places and have a shower there, or you can go to one of the hospitals and have a shower there. I mean, I'm not going to jump in a car or a bus and go, who knows where to have a shower, like maybe what it was, like once a week or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fully independent. I don't want to be like nerfed just because I'm good in everything else. Like, to have my life completely nerfed and turned upside down just because I don't have an accessible shower is not practical. So that's what I mean. Like, the accessible shower for me is not an optional thing. It's a must-have. So I spent $15,000 on that shower. I went into debt for $15,000, not because I'm crazy and not because it was a nice-to-have thing. It's because it was a must-have thing. And the government originally said, well, maybe we'll pay for some of it. And then they looked at my wife's income and they said, well, your wife earns too much. Sorry. And so for that reason, I had to pay for everything. And it's just kind of exactly like the CDB, the kind of the disability benefit. It doesn't respect the autonomy of the person with the actual disability. Like, I don't expect my wife to pay 15. In fact, she didn't. Like, it was me that went into debt more. Like, she's got her own money issues. So we had a podcast. The last podcast was about love and things. And I think some people think that, if you get married to your spouse is going to be your meal ticket or your financial support. And that's just not the case in my situation. It's like, if anything, I'm the supporter that's paying almost all of the bills, and we share the food, we share the food costs. But that's about it. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's how it is. And so for the government just to assume that anybody, like in my situation, oh, of course your wife is paying for everything, and it's like, no, she's not. No, she's not. All her money right now, a lot of it goes to the Philippines to support her family back in the Philippines, and that's how it is for a lot of Filipinos that come here. Is they turn right around and they send a lot of their money back home into the Philippines. So yeah. Anyway,
no
I'll turn it over to you, Brent.
Yeah. And I'll just kind of give a summary of what I went through since when I was a little child all the way to adulthood and to how I am now. Of accessibility wise, when we talk about Crip Tax, Crip Tax. Well, I mean, I flip it upside down. They'll say, well, tax the Crip. You know what I mean? Tax the Crip. I mean, go after the government of saying, well, you're causing the person with a disability more money by not actually looking at the long-term benefits of providing more accessibility. Meaning, if you invest into orthotics, like when I was 7, 8 years old, I had to get different orthotics and I did a lot of walking then too. Of course, I would stumble and fall down and fall on my knees, and trying to ride my bike, I'd fall down and my balance was off whack. It was just because of my vision wise. Didn't matter what I did, I just kept falling down, and my mom didn't understand, well, what is going on? And of course, it was part of my my visual acuity at the time, and it's, I mean, not 100% at all. It's what I can see now is what I know, right? And but anyway, my mom did the best she could, single mother. My mom had to pay for it. Every time I had get glasses, she had to pay for them. Well, my prescription um, was way back when technology really wasn't advanced. My glasses were like Coke bottle glasses. They call them the Coke bottle kid,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Because
I
my glasses
remember those
so
glasses
thick. I
too.
mean, they were like mine were like so thick, and they were heavy as hell. I remember it digging in my nose. It kept dropping down, and it was what it was. But they were expensive, very expensive, because modern technology has advanced a lot now. They're a lot thinner, they're a lot lighter. And I'm going to get to that point in just a moment. But yes, they may be thinner and lighter, but that will be getting on my next point. So the fact is they were expensive. I mean, my prescription was very, very high. And now I had an operation. It was still high, but it actually stabilized my condition to a point where my prescription still stayed the same, but it just stabilized my eye condition to what it is now after having an operation. There is no cure for my condition. I don't know what I would ever do if there was a cure, because I don't know anything different from what I know now of what I can see. Yeah, and so with that being said, I mean, combined with getting orthotics and eyeglasses and CCTV back, they were older technology. I mean, those machines they had back then were just wow, huge.
Yeah.
Modern technology over time, they started getting better. Same as glasses, orthotics, same thing. I found orthotics for me. I did a lot of walking, and I just my balance. Like I was just, I don't know. It's just the feel of having those orthotics in my shoes. It just felt like my foot was kind of off balanced, and so I had to go to another doctor, and he did a mold of it, and he fit it in really good. But those shoes were expensive. You can't just put them in regular shoes. They had to get special shoes to fit
Yeah.
those orthotics, and those were expensive. And of course, I wasn't on disability at the time. I wasn't on income assistance at the time. I worked at different restaurants in the hospitality industry. I went back to school, went to college. Um, it didn't work out for me. I mean, over time, so I just kept pushing myself. No, got to try something else. Got to try something else. Well, I was kept being told by my mom, well, maybe you're trying too hard, Brent. I mean, you can only do what you can do. You can only learn what you can learn. Um, it's going to get a point of time where she said you got to face the fact that you're going to have to apply for disability assistance, because it's a pension, and that was back then. It's a pension. It's going to protect you later in life when you need it, because you're going to get to a point where you're working with your disability the best way you can. It's who you are. Nothing will change. You can't change it. That's just to who you are. My mom said. I go, right, and I know that. She goes, I go, I'm not changing myself. Nobody. She goes, and nobody expects you to change yourself. I go, huh. Well, of course, fast forward, the government does. They expect people to change themselves because that's what they want, right? It's no, you need to change this for how we want you to be. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way in life. So anyway, getting to the point where I guess where I was leaving off was, as time went on, I got CCTV. I had them in schools, a little computer in the school. I won an award, actually. I got a computer that was given through the Rotary Club. Actually, it was really neat. Yeah, yeah. It was an excellence award. Yeah, student excellence award by the superintendent of the school board. And I remember having a picture taken with the superintendent, and it was really awesome. I actually got to take it home. They wanted me just to have it in the classroom. I said, "Well, I would love to have one at home." So you know what they did? They said, "Okay, we're going to leave one in the school, and we're going to give one for you to take home." What? I said, well, when do I give it back? You don't. You don't give it back. It's yours. Wow. I had tears running down my face. Like, what did I do? And they're like, you're just being you. And you're just a student achievement. And I kept having the can-do attitude that I kept pushing myself to the point where, it was almost like I didn't want to make any mistakes. Like like saying like, I don't want to say no. I don't want that adaptive equipment because
Mm-hmm.
my other students in my class, maybe they might want to share it.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up actually benefiting from it also with the like CCTVs or anything that was blowing up. Like it was hard to see because they'd be in the back of the class trying to read stuff up closer. So
Yeah.
some of them they take turns, and they thought this is so neat. So I was actually teaching them how to use the CCTV, how to adjust it so that it blows it up and you put the information underneath it, and then on the screen it would actually be a lot bigger. And like, wow, this is so cool. And I guess the moral of the story is, um, when you look at the long term effect of accessibility of getting, uh, say, orthotics or new glasses, if you go too cheap, like you mentioned, Neil, earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get what you pay for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Getting back to my example of the crutch tips again, like I said, I could have bought the cheap crutch tips, which the government did fund, and
mhm,
they were, even the cheap ones were, I think they were around maybe $16-17 a pair.
mhm,
Okay, and like I said, those ones lasted a week, like maybe sometimes not even. So think about that. If I had just gone with only what the government covered, I would have to go through, uh, you know, 52 pairs a year
mhm,
of that, versus if I get one of the good pairs,
mhm.
it's like $50 to $55, and that lasts at least minimum like 6 months. So
Yeah, that
a
was just
good half year.
yeah,
So I can buy two pairs, and I could buy two pairs and they would last me at least a whole year,
yeah,
versus buying 52 pairs and they might not even get through a whole year. My last example too is, uh, I I did get the ministry to cover half of that wheelchair that I have, and I'm really grateful to have the wheelchair. But again, they only paid for half.
did they pay for the wheels or did they pay for actually the
Yeah,
wheelchair?
like it was like they sawed it in half and said, "Here's
Oh
half
yeah.
of it."
You can balance on the front part and just hope that do a wheelie.
But I mean, like again, if I didn't have the money,
Yeah,
to pony up to, and in actual fact, I don't have the money.
yeah,
Like to be really real and honest, I don't have the money, but you find the money even though you don't have it. But I honestly don't have the money.
yeah, no,
But they said, well, we're sorry, Neil, we're only going to pay for half. And so either I went out, I would go without the wheelchair,
well, yeah.
I need the wheelchair. It's not an optional thing. It's not an optional thing.
Yeah, I mean, government is he's just supposed to crawl on his hands and knees or just kind of wiggle around and trying to get to from point A to point B. I know
Yeah,
it's
so
really
it's a $3,000 chair, and I'm like, again, I'm very, very, very grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful that the government decided that they're going to pay for $1,500 worth of that chair. Like, it's great, but I had to pay for $1,500 extra.
yeah,
That $1,500 that I actually don't have. I
exactly.
don't have, but I just, I found a pink unicorn somewhere in my bank account. you
Hmm.
know, Basically borrowing more money that I don't have
Yeah,
to pay for it. Because I mean, again, it's not optional. Like I wish it was. I
hmm,
wish it was optional, but it's not. So my only option was to incur more debt or
hmm.
be stuck at home and go nowhere.
I mean, yeah. I mean, meanwhile, the government right now they're forking millions of dollars out, and they don't even know where it's going. It's going to corporate landlords and businesses, and they don't know who's getting it, and they have no way of
Mm-hmm.
recouping it. Like, meanwhile, you need something to help an extension off of for you, for your wheelchair, to getting around. It's your transportation of getting you from point A to point B and being able to be accessible
Yeah.
and having the autonomy of doing what you need to do.
And remember, Brent, I've said this before on a previous episodes. Remember that the excuse that the ministry gave as to why they're not going to fund the whole chair is because they knew I already had a mobility scooter. And they said, "Well, we know you already have a mobility scooter." And I'm thinking to myself, well, the government didn't pay for one dime of that, and they said, like, it doesn't matter. We know you have it. We know you have that mobility scooter, so we're only gonna pay for half of the wheelchair, even though we know we didn't pay for your mobility scooter. You paid for every cent of that, but because we know you have it, we're not going to give you a full manual chair. You know, it was just nuts, right? It's like honestly, it's the only big expense that I've ever asked the government in my whole entire existence, I think. I mean, I basically paid for every single thing in my life. You know, one time I asked them for this one thing, and they're like, "Well, we'll pay for half." And again, it's gonna sound like a sour grapes. Like I'm not grateful. I am. It just sucks that.
Well, it really does.
That my one time I still have to go into debt by $1,500 for a thing I need because the government says, "Well, you already have this thing over here." So
right, but your other one works better for you, and that's why you.
The reason why I got the manual chair is that it folds up. It folds up into cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The other one, no.
The other one doesn't do it. So
exactly, and so you went with what works good for you, and the government said, "Well, this works good for you, but no, we're not going to pay for it because it works good for you." I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning into today's segment, and stay tuned to our next segment, and we're going to talk about transportation, and it's not about local transportation, everybody, that I talk about a lot. This is going to be something definitely different. So stay tuned.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.